The other thing that I'm going to enable or try is the live transcript. Just since Tiffany's voice is a little scratchy, we want to make sure that folks can hear everything and see everything. I will give the like general warning that this is all the captions are auto-generated. So if it says something unusual, we apologize for that. It looks like live transcription has been, oh, there we go. I hope you all are seeing that. So it looks like we've got lots of folks who are brand new to Springboard, and we're really grateful to have you here. And then folks who have, you know, a variety of experience with both Springboard and Springboard Digital. Now, Tiffany's going to cover a lot today, and I know it's going to feel really easy. It's going to be really easy to feel overwhelmed. I want to just like caution you, this is a walkthrough. We're going to send the recording, and we're going to send links to user guides that walk you through step by step, have videos of how to do every single thing that Tiffany's going to walk you through. So just take this in, experience it, and try not to be overwhelmed with everything you're hearing. I'm here just as your sort of host and moderator. We do have Kristen joining us. And she is our Springboard Digital product manager for the Springboard Digital platform. And so she's here to be my phone a friend and help answer questions that might come up specifically about the digital experience. And Tiffany is really going to be our guide today. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass it over to you, Tiffany.
Thank you so much, Amanda. So yes, if you were with me yesterday, unfortunately, I did catch COVID earlier this month, and this is a remnant of that. I'm not sure when I'm going to get my voice back at this point, but as I have students coming to me next week, I'm really hoping it will be soon. My name is Tiffany Yango-Ao, and I'm from Aiea, Hawaii, which is on the island of Oahu. I'm entering my 23rd year as an educator, can't believe it. The state of Hawaii is a little bit different from most states in that our school system is one huge district, the entire state. And so about 10 years ago, our state adopted Springboard as our secondary ELA curriculum. So that was when I first was introduced to it. I love the principles behind it, the foundation, the instructional strategies. All of those things really seem to resonate with both me and my students. So I've been using Springboard Digital, or SBD, now for about 7 years with my English 9 classes. And so it's been running very smoothly. And then this is now my 5th year being a member of the Springboard Professional Learning faculty. So I'm very happy to be here with you bright and early this morning. It's about 6 o'clock at Hawaii time. So thanks for those of you getting up early with me. All right, my primary goal today is to highlight places where SBD can help you better support your instruction and also scaffold your students. We'll be mainly giving a broad overview of SBD's functionalities, but also trying to delve into some of the specifics that you're likely to come across this year. The most important focus, though, is to help you determine ways to use SBD and all of its capabilities to effectively integrate into whatever learning environment you're using. Most of us are back 100% face-to-face, but COVID's still around. So we know that there are some districts out there that may still be in blended or distant learning, and all of us are going to probably experience students being absent as they quarantine or isolate. So this platform offers possibilities, and it offers flexibility for whatever mode of instruction that you're going to be using this year. Okay, so Zoom webinars, they have some functionality that'll help you interact because we do want to hear from you. First off, Q&A. This was heavily used yesterday, so I hope that you will take advantage of it. It's for questions about content, functionality, and pedagogy. This is a good section to use because the question is paired right with the answer, so it doesn't get lost in the chat. For the chat, and I'm so glad that's working today, You can share any of your thoughts or ideas on anything I'm presenting. And if you feel comfortable, we would like you to share it with all panelists and attendees so we can benefit from each other's ideas. And lastly, keep continuing to participate in those polls that Amanda will post, and that will give me just a general idea of where you guys are at. Okay, we're almost done with our little opening session. And then we're going to transition to a brief review of the SBD landing page. This is for people who, don't have a good, strong foundation in Springboard Digital. So I'll be going over everything that's on that landing page that you're likely to use coming. We're going to focus especially on the new layout of assessments because that's just debuted and it looks really nice. After that, we'll explore a digital lesson. So all the way from sharing those materials through our partner Google Classroom to what tools are available in your ebook. We're going to actually look at a new tool that will be debuting soon, which is the table of contents. And then after that, hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A. So again, this webinar is a balance between the big picture view of SBD and how it can benefit your instructional plan this year, but also helpful specifics in using Springboard Digital. Okay. In this next part of the webinar, I'm going to review how to create your SBD Educator account and touch on the landing page features. So all of these features that you see here, I'll briefly be going over. So Amanda wasn't kidding. There's a lot of information coming at you today, but don't worry. As she said, it is going to be recorded and you can get to it through your own pace. Okay, let's start about logging in. I'm going to show you first how I log in my district. So my district is a Clever district. Can you see my screen, Amanda? Just checking.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Clever is a single sign-on system, and there are other systems that you may be using that work the same way. What it is it's a program that allows me to get to a number of different programs, Springboard Digital being one of them. So to log in, I put in my username and password. Usually there's some kind of instruction about what that username and password is based on. But if you're not sure, you can click on the Get Help Logging In or contact someone in your district. Okay, so I would just log in by clicking this. And then here's my Clever dashboard. You can see a bunch of different resources I can get to. But of course, my favorite is going to be Springboard. So I'm going to click on that.
And just while this is thinking, I do have one just clarification for folks. There are a few things that Tiffany is going to show you today, like the assessments page, that isn't quite live for everybody yet, but is coming very soon. So we wanted to make sure to showcase it during the webinar because you will have it for this academic year, but it's not quite live at the moment. Tiffany has some special access to be able to show you all.
Sure. And I'll make reference to that as I go through it. So you're reminded that this is not exactly what you'll see on your page. So here's my landing page for school. My classes are loaded in here. Oh, gracious. And I will be using it in approximately 1 week. Okay, let's see what it looks like if you are not in a Clever district, if you have to manually register yourself and your students. Okay, so you're going to go into your district's Springboard URL. Basically, it's usually some version of your district's name. Like in Hawaii, it would be Hawaii HI. And then everybody has the same ending, which is .springboardonline.org. So you just have to figure out what is your Springboard link. And then if you've never logged in before, you get to this page and then you click New to Springboard. it's going to ask you for an access code. So the person with that code is either going to be your district Springboard coordinator or a program delivery specialist. Once you get that code, you'd enter in, and it'll take you through a process of choosing a username and also creating a password. If you already have access to Springboard Digital but forgotten your password, you can click that link and it'll log you in. All right, let's start. Okay, so here is where you will see your landing page. And this layout, I'm always amazed. They have gone through such changes through the pandemic, very responsive to all of our feedback. The tech team for SBD updates the layout constantly to improve accessibility to the platform for both educators and students. So this is all a work in progress. And the best way to know, hey, what's been added, what's been modified, is by clicking this what's new toggle right here. So if I were to click it, it would tell you that there's a new math digital work ebook up, and it's amazing. We had our overhaul ELA, so it's about time math got their counterpart. But definitely keep checking it occasionally for all of the new things that are going to be added. Another important icon you should get to know well is help. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of the landing page. And this is a place you can access resources and get support as you navigate through Springboard and SBD. So when I click on it, it should open. There we go. And so what I just went through, getting onto your account, you could click on my account and you can see it'll tell you exactly what I just went over, and it'll have step-by-step screenshots and things like that. So that's very good. Also here, you can report any issue because we've all been affected by tech glitches during this pandemic. So if you needed to report something going on, you would click on it and then describe the issue. This is the easiest way to get a response back. It's very quick. In my experience, the tech team at SBD is like top notch. They definitely will follow up on whatever issue you're having. Okay, so the other things you're going to use. First is going to be the class toggle, which is up here. This is where you can get to any of your classes once you add them in. So I'm going to switch mine to webinar. And then another thing that will help is this button right next to it, which is Springboard. This is kind of your home button. So wherever you are in the landing page, if you are in the ebook or assessment, if you hit this home button, it will take you back here to your dashboard. One other thing about the toggle, you can add a class in here, and I'll be showing you how to do that in a little bit. Okay, this large blue banner right here, this is your digital instructional materials. So if I click on it, I can see I have all of these materials available to my specific class that I have listed up here. So in addition to, let's say, the national edition, the main book, it comes with several different workshops, the language, close reading, and writing workshops. So if I wanted to, I could toggle very easily to one of those materials. So just got to make sure you're in the right one for the right class. Okay, let's look at this skinny white banner. There's a lot going on over here, and you can access any of these resources with a simple click. Here's your ebook. This is the digital teacher edition. When you click on it, everything that is in your hard copy teacher edition is here in the ebook. And the same thing goes for students. So they have access to everything. If for some reason you do start off in a distance situation and you're thinking, I don't know if my students can come in and pick up their hard copy, no need. Everything that's in the hard copy is in their digital version as well. There's also a quick link here, and that's going to take you to the last activity that you accessed with that class. Okay, next up is your teacher resources. This is specific to the digital product that you select. So right now I'm in the main book and I'm wanting to get to the teacher resources in the main book. These are resources that include asynchronous activities. And in this way, I mean independent students can do it on their own. And if you post them, like let's say in your Google Classroom or whatever learning management system you're using. Finding the resources are very easy. We have this filtered checkbox layout. You can see, you can look at it by audience. Okay, here are things that are only available to be seen by teachers or by students or by all. There are tools here you can use to communicate with family about Springboard. There's reports that you can use. Let's say I wanted to get to a rubric for embedded assessments. I would just click here under rubric. And then here are all my rubrics for the embedded assessments in 9th grade. Okay, the next thing here is the assessments. So as Amanda mentioned, what you're going to see as my page loads up is different from what you see when you log into Springboard Digital. But this new layout is coming soon, hopefully by the time that you start your school year. Okay, so while it's loading, I'm going to take a sip. Okay, so here's what the layout looks like. It's kind of similar to that teacher resources, but just no checkbox filter. You'll see that there are two types of assessments. This content is the same in your view as well. So none of the content has changed, just the look of it. The first would be unit assessments. So you can see here, unit 1. These can be printed or they can be assigned digitally. And what they are summative assessments at the end of a unit. So ideally, you would assign them either right before an embedded assessment or right after an embedded assessment. And it'll concentrate mostly on just the reading standards. Since most of our embedded assessments are either writing or speaking and listening forward, this is kind of like the reading summative counterpart. The other type of assessment you might use actually a little more frequently, and that's called an activity quiz. So as I scroll, you'll see that after each activity or maybe a group of activities together, you'll see a quiz here. And so students can do that after they do the activity with you in Springboard. You can use it as a quick exit pass, or you could use it as a formative or summative assessment. Again, you can basically either print it out or you can assign it digitally. And I'm going to be showing you that later. I am going to show you what it looks like. Let me find a good one. Here we go. So when you click on it, you can preview the assessment. You can also look at the standards that it addresses. Most of these activity quizzes are very short, maybe anywhere between 2 to 5 questions long. And again, they are focused strictly on those Common Core reading standards. Okay, so you can see it's a typical multiple choice question. It'll let you know both the question and what the correct answer is. And then over here, you'll have a brief description of the difficulty of the question. So it'll show you the DOK or depth of knowledge level, as well as the Bloom's level. This is important information that you can use. So for example, in Hawaii, our educator evaluation system includes tracking student growth. So if I know the specific difficulty of a question, that can go into my analysis of a student's progress. Okay. And again, I'm going to be showing you how to assign these digitally a little bit later. Okay, progress reports. Once you start doing these assessments, you'll be allowed to look at how your students did through this progress report view. This was also updated during the last school year based on educator feedback. So this layout is new. but you'll notice it is very similar to that teacher resources. So on the very first at a glance page, you'll be able to quickly see the quizzes or the assessments that you've assigned, as well as how your class did on average, how many students completed the test, and then you'll have this release answers button. So that button, after you click it, no other student can take that assessment in that class. So I like to wait until, I'm sure all of my students who are absent have had time to make up the activity quiz or anything like that. Okay, so if I wanted to look to see how my students did, I'd open it up by clicking on the activity quiz that I want. And then you'll see that here are the students in my class, Lavender Brown and Narcissa Malfoy. I'm a big Potter fan. And it'll show me how they did per question, and then kind of give an overall view of the class. So if I click on a question, it'll come up here on the side menu what that question was along with the answer. And then I can also open up to see the complexity and the standards here. Okay, in addition to seeing those student reports, there are new administrative reports that just debuted recently. So these administrative reports will show usage. So how many teachers are assigning these activity quizzes or assessments, how many students are actually taking them. And then this report here will show how many students are achieving this, like being proficient in each of the Common Core reading standards. Okay, the next one is your professional learning tab. So this tab gives you access to modules hosted on academic merit. This is also where you would go if you're doing a face-to-face or virtual Springboard professional learning. So in Anchorage, I believe, we're going to be facilitating a workshop there soon. So people would register for their attendance here. You'll get a nice little certificate. Hopefully it might help you in maybe your evaluator system as an educator, like core professionalism or something like that. But the tab that's going to be most useful for you, the e-learning resources. So I'm going to click on that, and this module will open from academic merit. There is an administrator view that I think was a recent addition, but you're going to be interested here in ELA, and you're going to click launch. Just a little reminder, I can see a lot of questions coming up in the chat. Best to do it in that Q&A section if you can. Okay, so many of you are in California, so here are your modules here. But here is the national edition. So this is going to go over all of those things that you did in your initial institute. We also have modules referring to those workshops that I mentioned earlier that come with your national edition. And then here's where you're going to find the recorded webinars. So these are from last year when I had a voice. When these years are posted, this year's ones are posted, you can definitely view them again at your own pace. All right, the last one is your class roster. Okay, again, I'm going to show you how it happens with my school first, but the class roster is where you'll be able to see all of your classes and students. So at a first glance, you're going to be able to see the different classes that you have, the period if you've named it, a certain section, your ebook or your product that you assign to it, and then how many students have actually joined your class. You'll also see the access code. So that's how students can join if you're not in a Clever district. Okay, let me show you that Clever one first. So this is what would occur in Hawaii. Nothing, it's all automatically done for you. All of my classes, once it got loaded in for this coming year, they're already here. I did not have to add anything to it. The only thing I need to do is assign a product. So I'm going to click on class roster. No, I apologize, it's a little slow today. And then I would click on whichever class I'm going into. I don't need to fill out anything here. It's already done for me, but I will go to where it says course ebooks. Now I've already added them for my classes this year, but basically you'll see here's, I teach ninth grade. So here is the selection of products that I want available. And all I would need to do is click grade 9 over here. You'll see the other grade levels are here as well. Okay, so if I didn't have, if I have to manually add all of my students in this class roster tab, I'd create new class. And first I'd have to name my class. I could put down whichever section I want. And then I'm going to have to do a start date and an end date. So this is generally your whole year. Then I can click on next and assign that ebook. So I happen to be able to see a lot of the ebooks, the former versions, things like that. So if I was a 6th grade teacher, I would just select my products for 6th grade. That's it. Then you'd hit create class. And you'll see it just got added here. Here is my code. So this is what I would give to students. Now, if your students are in that Clever district, they just log into their Springboard Digitals, that class would automatically appear. If you had to manually add, then students would enter into their Springboard accounts. If they already have one, they would just enter your code in. It'll say like join class, and then they'll be registered. If they don't have an account, they would go through the same process that you did, click next, new to Springboard, and create their username and password. And then when it asks for an access code, they'd put your class code in. All right, and then that basically gets your classes all loaded. Again, if you need, to refer back to this, you can click in help. And everything here is under class roster. Okay, I'm going to click my home button so you can see that I'm going to be back at the landing page. And the last thing I want to show you is our partners. All of these resources that you can get to. I recently, like just yesterday, did a webinar on the partners. So once that's uploaded, you'll be able to look, and I went over things that you can do with all of our partner resources. Okay, that's the landing page. A lot that we covered. So please participate in that poll, and you can also chat which feature are you most excited about? Which feature do you think is going to help you most in your classroom?
And while folks are responding, we've had some really great questions in the chat. So I just wanted to raise some of them to answer them for everybody in case folks aren't seeing the paying attention to the answers in the Q&A. So Stacy asked if there's a standards report available for teachers. We have standards, standard alignments for each assessment, but not an overall standards report, but it is in the roadmap. So you're asking about things, Tiffany said we are constantly developing and iterating. And so that's one of the things that we will be working on. In terms of some of the other questions, there was a great one about if a student needs a print copy, is there a way for the students, for the teacher to enter the answer choices for the student? Or like a scan and capture. At this point, we don't have that, but another participant shared that if a student needs to take the test on a paper format, If they're able to afterwards, they just have them enter, log into their account and enter it individually, or they'll have a, paraprofessional or the teacher support entering that so that their results can be incorporated into the full report. So thank you so much for asking your questions, and we'll continue to keep answering them.
Absolutely.
There's a great question. I think you're probably going to go into this, but just to prime you for your next section, where you're talking about some of the assignments in the ebooks. Alexandra is asking if you can assign specific assignments to students rostered in the class, and can you assign it to some students and not to others?
Absolutely.
So just as you're going through, if you want to go ahead and respond to that, that would be great.
Yes. So, Alexandra, I'll cue you when that's coming, but that is exactly what you can do. Assign certain things to certain students. This helps in a variety of situations. If you're on like a hybrid schedule and you see like half the class at a time, you can do all of that. So it's great. Okay, let's get going. Keep going.
And just in terms of really quickly, just super
yeah.
quick, it looks like folks are super excited to dig into the assessments as we move through.
That is great. I do make a good use of those activity quizzes, especially because my school is moving towards a standards-based grading system. And so it is so helpful to have it like right there, which standards go with each question. Okay, so we're going to move on to the nitty-gritty. Look, there's more. Basically, we're going to be with our students in a few weeks and some even less than that. And so what do you want to do to start to prepare? Ideally, you have sat down with your teacher edition and gone through that purposeful planning process with your grade level group. So you know sort of what you want to emphasize, how it relates to your priority standards. All of those things that you learned in Initial Institute. Don't forget there's refresher modules in that professional learning tab if you need. But let's say you've done that and now it's time to plan for an individual activity. So you could just plan to project your copy as students enter, or maybe you're sharing your screen during some kind of synchronous learning time, or maybe you're going to have students access their own copies independently. Whatever way you want to do it, the ebook has a lot of flexibility. Before I show you how to share ebook materials through Google Classroom, I want to talk about how the ebook can be accessed from other learning management systems. The large majority of Springboard educators and their districts use Google Classroom. So that's why Springboard has partnered with Google Classroom to make this process as smooth as possible. But we know there are other districts out there and you're using things like Canvas or Schoology. And we definitely want to tell you SPD works there as well. It just is going to look different how you access and how you post materials. So in the Canvas LMS, you look under assignments. It's in the left-hand menu, and that's where you're going to find your Springboard Digital ebook and materials. In Schoology, again, left-hand, but this time under materials. And if you're using something else entirely, boom, copy link. I actually tend to use this a lot as well, especially with my absent students. I'll put it in an email for them. So basically all the materials that we're going to be going over, you can hit copy link, paste it in whatever LMS or email system that you're using, and then your students would be able to access it. The caution though is to make sure when they click on the link, they do need to be able to log into their Springboard Digital account. So that does need to be logged in for this link to work. Okay. So let's go to the landing page. And then I'm going to click on the activity I want to go to. So I'll get to my ebook. And I'll go to my table of contents, which is the 3 dots and the 3 lines in the top left-hand corner. You can see I'll be expanding. And you can get to any of the activities from here. I'm going to choose 1.4. And the first thing I'm going to do is share these materials with my students. So I'm going to click on the share to Google Classroom. Just checking, Amanda, can you see that pop up?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. First thing is you're going to choose what you want to share. In most cases, it's going to be the complete activity, but sometimes you're going to want to assign something specific, just one part of that activity, especially if a student is absent or something like that. So once you select it, you'll go to next, and then you'll select which class you want to share it to. So you'll have all of your different period classes and you'll select which one. And those of you familiar with Google Classroom will know there's a variety of ways you can post to it. So if I'm only interested in sharing materials, I don't want a due date, I don't want to assign point value to it or anything like that, I can either make an announcement or create a material. So I'm going to click make an announcement. And this is, Alexandra, what we were talking about here. So I can choose which students, in this case, I only have one student, which student I want to assign it to, and click on those students specifically and not the others. I can add in a brief message, and then here's the link already attached. And then I'll just click post. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, and then you can see in my class, here's the link already posted. Okay, after you do that, then I know students can easily access my materials. The next step is I'm going to look at the teacher wrap. So in your teacher edition, these are the panels on the side in your hard copy. Over here, it's this icon with a map. So my teacher wrap is divided into sections: plan, teach. So this is the teaching plan. There's some tips in there for teachers. And then assess. It'll give you ideas about assessment in that section, and then adapt. So ideas to differentiate for your students. The good thing about the teacher wrap digitally is that you can edit it to modify what works best for you. So I might enter in here, oh, don't forget to use this or skip this part or whatever. So just like how we would all make our notes in our teacher edition, I had endless Post-its. You can do that digitally as well and save it. Okay, so in this teacher wrap, it's telling me to preview my learning targets, but also that there's an opening writing prompt. So I usually have a bell work or some kind of do now activity for students to do as we get settled in. So I'm going to give them instructions to do this opening writing prompt as their bell work. So to do that, I'm going to select a word in the opening writing prompt, and then this menu will pop up. This is our annotations menu. I'm going to click on sticky note. This is like a Post-it note that students will be able to see either on the screen as they come in or through their own Springboard Digital workbooks. It's right there. Like as they open up their own workbook or ebook, it's right there. It's easy for me to type in this box. I have all of these features available if I want to do a bullet list, bold it, or something like that. If I make a mistake, I'm also able to delete the entire sticky note. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is unpack my learning targets. So I can do this synchronously in class as they are there in front of me, or I can do it ahead of time and they'll be able to see it when they open up their ebook. So to unpack, I'm going to circle the skills that this activity focuses on. So I'll click on Analyze, select it. Again, this menu will pop up. This time I'm going to click my circle tool. Students are also working on developing, so I'm going to circle that as well. And then I'm going to underline concepts that they're going to cover in this activity. So characters through a narrator. Again, select it, and then this time I'm going to click on underline. Oops. sometimes it can be a little finicky. One thing that your ebook cannot do is hold two annotations at once. So if I wanted to circle, I couldn't highlight also. It'll tell me I can't do that. Okay, the other thing about Springboard is the principle is backwards design. That means that every single activity is going to have something to do with the final culminating activity, which is your embedded assessment. So usually when students come into my class, I have the unpacked embedded assessment up on a wall. I'll go and refer to it. Hey guys, today we're going to focus on this, which is going to help you with this section of your culminating activity, your embedded assessment. During the pandemic, obviously they couldn't come into my classroom for that. So I got used to making things on Google. So I made this Google drawing. This is similar to an unpack, a web unpack that I do. And the little red arrows I would drag and point to whichever part of the embedded assessment we were covering that time for that activity. Okay, so I want to share this link with my students, and I want them to be able to access it in their ebook. So again, I'm going to do this in a sticky note. I'll highlight or select one of the words, add sticky note. This time I'm going to click the insert link button, paste the link that I just copied. I'm going to type in text for that link. And then very important, don't forget about this. I've done this so many times where I've closed the sticky note and then I've lost my link. You have to click insert. And now here I can click on the link. And more importantly, students will be able to see it and click on the link as well. Okay, after that, I'm going to go down and look at my About the Author section. So in the teacher wrap, it tells me to focus on the author, who is Edward P. Jones, and the fact that he writes about real life places that he grew up in, which is Washington, D.C. So I take a quick look at the passage and I note that there are actual street names mentioned. There's an address mentioned. There's a school that's mentioned. So here's a way that I can bring in another digital resource like Google Maps. So I actually map out the route that the characters take in the passage. So the two characters are, one's a little girl and her mother. So they basically go from their home all the way to their school. And it is I think it's like a 9 or 10-minute walk. So those of you with with children, you know how, sorry, it got lost. Let me put it back here. You know how long a half a mile walk can be when you have like a small child with you. So in this way, it kind of brings to life what the characters are doing and engages my students a little bit more. Many of them have smaller siblings, so they know it can be pretty squirrely to get a small child to walk that far. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that, again, I have this link accessible in a sticky note. So a lot of this I might do ahead of time, so it's already there for the students when they access it in class. Okay, I'm also going to look at the As You Read section. So this is what I want students to do as they're reading this passage. So it says to create a mental image of characters and setting. So those are two different literary elements. I want them to cue in on both of those things. So what I'm going to do is set up a pattern for them to follow. I want them to look through the passage for character details. So I'm going to, again, select the word characters. Here is my annotations menu. This time I'm going to choose highlight. So I want them to highlight details about characters in orange. Now, I also want them to focus on setting. This time, anything to do with the details on setting, I want them to highlight in green. So again, I can do this ahead of time and they'll be able to see, oh, this is how she wants me to highlight. I'm also going to, ahead of time, give them the first example for each. Okay. as we go through this passage for the first time, I really just want them to concentrate on highlighting those details. So I don't want them to worry about reading it aloud. They're concerned about their reading fluency. They're worried about, is it my turn yet or not? So one way I can do that is by playing the audio. So this audio feature, I love. You can do it in your classrooms. Students can do it on their own at home. It's in their ebook as well. So let me play a little bit of that audio for you.
The First Day by Edward P. Jones. On an otherwise unremarkable September morning, long before I learned to be ashamed of my mother, she takes my hand and we set off down New Jersey Avenue to begin my very first day of school.
Okay, so basically every passage in Springboard has an audio to it. You can also dock the audio. So if you're displaying your copy and you want students to follow along, you can scroll and then the audio will still play down here. So you can pause and discuss as you want. In my school district, we do have an EL population. There are quite a few students from the Philippines that'll come. So here's another resource I can use outside of SBD, Google Translate. So I can already load in like the first paragraph or the first chunk, and then we can use this as a resource as well for students.
Tiffany,
All right.
oh, sorry, there was a
Okay,
great
go
question.
ahead.
And now, just in the Q&A, as you're marking the text, there's a question around these annotation tools. Does that show up for every sort of copy of the book, or just the one that you're in? And sort of how do you manage that to get it?
Okay, that is an excellent question. Okay, first off, it is only for that period or that class's book. If you'll notice, there is a yellow menu right here at the top, and this says class copy and the name of my class. So let's say I'm in my school account, it might say period 1. This is seen by everyone in that period 1 class, any of the markings or instructions that I'm adding in. However, if I change my class to look at period 2, none of those marks appear. Other copies that you have are your teacher copy. So that's like your own teacher edition. Nobody sees that but you. But once you make a mark on your teacher copy, it basically stays there until you yourself delete it. I can also see individual student copies of any student that's in that class. So hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah,
okay?
so when you're planning, do you typically like make all of the things that you want in your teacher copy and then translate them onto the class copy, depending on which class?
I do sometimes. Sometimes I'll make it in my teacher copy, especially as I'm going through that planning process. And then I'll basically copy, like it's a little tedious because you'd have to copy each sticky note and whatever. Sometimes I will just do it in the class copy and then switch to my next period, repeat all of those same markings that I want to do ahead of time. So it really just depends on what you want to do. But unfortunately, there's no way to, like, I happen to, very, very lucky, I have one teaching prep. So basically, I only teach ninth graders, but I teach 6 classes of ninth graders. I will have to make these marks 6 times so that it appears in each class copy.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I'm going to continue through the activity now. And we'll get to something at the end called making observations. So this is after the students have read for the first time and made their markings. In the making observations, students would respond to these questions. So I'm actually going to switch to my student view now. Here's my student, Lavender Brown. Ooh, sorry, I have to get to the activity here. Okay, so you can see Lavender is in my class. She has seen all of my annotations. all of my instructions and links. She's seeing how she's supposed to annotate, as well as my example. And she's added in some of her own annotations. So she's followed my example and found other details to highlight. Here it is at the making observation. To respond, students would click in the box. They have all the same tools to respond. They can make something bold or in a bullet list. So what telling details stand out? She's noticed that the narrator is dressed up and she's using perfume. Just by clicking out of it, it saves. The students will know because they're always paranoid, as well as myself. Does it save? You'll see because it turns blue. So that is saved in her book. Then let me go back to the teacher view. I could see Lavender's response by clicking onto her ebook. I can see her annotations. And here's her response here. So I can respond back to Lavender. And then she would be able to see my response in her book. And that's only strictly to Lavender. So nobody else can see my response to her. So sometimes I like to do that, give feedback on individual copies. Other times, I just want a general view of how students are doing. Like I can formally assess, are they on task? Are they understanding the concepts and skills? And to do that, so this is now, again, the class copy. I can look at the class aggregate view. So on the side here, you'll notice there's an icon that says view responses. I'm going to click on it. And now I have 2 students in the class. I can see both of their responses. So you would do that, if you have 25 students in your class, you'd be able to see everyone's response. So flexibility for your students' needs is something that Springboard does emphasize. So the next part of this activity, working from the text, has students working to fill out this organizer, this table here in their copy. They're looking through the passage for certain quotes that say, "This is my mother," and then they're making they're describing their mother using a simple sentence. But let's say I want to reinforce peer support and collaboration. Here in their individual workbook or ebooks, they're not able to collaborate together on the same document. So I'm going to choose to recreate this table in a Google Doc. So Googlefy it, if you will. And you can definitely do that. And again, I'll link it here so that students know, hey, I don't want you to fill it in here. I want you to click on this link and then you fill it in with your small group here. So here's my Google-fied version of the working from the text section. I also want students to focus just on a certain section of the text. So I've chunked it up. And then they'll be all on the same doc together. So it'll promote that collaboration. Okay. Now I'm in the next section, which is this language and writer's craft. Not my students' favorite section. Let me tell you, grammar and mechanics, they run screaming. So I know I'm going to have to make this engaging. I'm also going to have to spend some time on it because it is a problem area for my students. So I'll be able to highlight different parts of that section, go over certain things, maybe make them in small groups as they go through it. I could also add in other resources at this point. So in teacher resources, there is a section for grammar activities. So I could add in that section there. And then spend some time with students going over clauses because the focus is subordinating conjunctions. So I could use that from teacher resources. I could also use Quill. As I mentioned yesterday, Quill focuses on combining sentences and sentence construction, so specifically on grammar. So I could enter to my account in Quill, and I'll see that this very activity, the first day, is there's a passage aligned activity in Quill for it. So I could have students work on these things together or assign them independently and have them do extra practice that way. Finally, we're at the check your understanding. I'm going to have this be my exit pass. So this takes me to sharing just a portion of it. So I'm going to share again to Google Classroom. And this time I'm only going to select check your understanding. Here's why I'm making this a separate post. This time I do want things to be, I want points and I want a deadline. So I'm going to do it as a create assignment. Again, I can assign the points and have a due date and only assign it to whichever students I want it to be assigned to. I can even have it under a certain topic. I need to name it. And then I can assign it. And here it is on the screen. Okay, so now students will be able to see that it's been assigned and that there's a due date. Okay, so what about the fact that now they've got work assigned to them? How am I going to evaluate and grade their work? So I did show that I can see students' individual copies and leave feedback. I did show that you can look at student responses here in the class aggregate view. So typically that's what I normally do. I'll leave feedback on individual copies. I'll look at the class aggregate view. And then if I'm grading something, I'll have it open sort of in one window and I'll have my Google Classroom open in another. And then I'll enter the points in as I look at their responses. Another way that you can do it is you can have students save their work and attach it to your Google Classroom or learning management system. So if I go back to being my student, once I'm done, I'm going to click on the print icon. And then I'm going to save it as a PDF. Once I have it as a PDF, right? So here are all my responses that I have in there. I can then attach it to my Google Classroom and turn it in that way. Typically, I did start off that way, but it really is just easier for me to look at their individual e-copies or the class aggregate view. Okay, so homework or asynchronous activities. If I want to know more about their reading comprehension for this passage, this is where I can assign the activity quiz. So I'll click on assessments.
And as this thinks, Tiffany, I did just want to I did put a note in the chat. I did just want to make sure that folks know we're going a little bit long today.
So sorry, I just realized the timing on that.
Yeah, that's okay. If folks can stay on, fantastic. If not, I'll be sure to send out the recording to everybody. And you can just jump ahead to where you had to leave us. But it looks like most folks are able to stay on, so that's fantastic.
Excellent.
And I see you went to assessments and it kind of did
close. Yeah. Sometimes that does happen.
Well, and I think it may be because you do have the early
new
access and the team may be doing development work and launching. And so that may potentially be what's causing this little hiccup here. So I
gosh.
do apologize.
Okay, here's what I'll do. I can show you it on my teacher account. So this layout will look like the layout that people are currently seeing. It does work the same way. You'd find your activity quiz. So you can see this layout is a little different. Here's my 1.4 quiz. And then you'll have a shared a classroom or a copy link. So basically, you could either choose either one of those, assign it to your students. So this is the same in the other version that I showed. It's a little more smooth in that version, but it's the same process. So
and this gets to the earlier question of, can you assign to just individual students?
Yes, you definitely can.
So this is exactly what I think folks needed to see. Thank you.
Yeah. And then I clicked on the copy link one. So you just copy this link and then you paste it on whichever learning management system you have. So basically, that's pretty easy to assign. And then once the new system debuts, it pretty much works the same way. Okay, the last thing I do want to go over are the new, it has kind of timed out, I think. Are some of the new features.
And just there's a couple of questions in the Q&A that I think you can answer really quickly. The first is, can you assign an assessment to more than one class at a time, or is it by class?
No, it is by class. So again, I mean, I'm in an ideal situation where I have 6 of the same classes. Normally, student educators, they have more than one type of class, but I do have to post that link 6 times because it goes to their specific class ebook.
Great. And then the next question is, do you use Springboard Digital every day?
Pretty much, at least portions of it. Sometimes we're working on, that embedded assessment, in which case, once that embedded assessment has been assigned, students are, normally working on their Google Doc, and then they're going to be posting it. So it's not necessarily every single day, but it's pretty often. Okay, really fast, and I know this screenshot is kind of blurry. This is the table of contents. You'll hopefully soon be able to edit it. So like in my school, we have our grade level groups, and we've discussed, now that we've gone through the new national edition for 2 years, we're making some changes. Maybe we want to start, so we actually start with a different unit rather than unit 1. Maybe we're going to take out certain activities because you have a limited amount of time, and we feel that that activity is not as necessary to the EA. So you're able to make those changes in your table of contents, save it, and then your students would be able to see it and that specific table of contents in their ebooks. The other thing is point of use links. So I apologize, I don't have a screenshot of that, but this is going to occur in the table of contents and also in the teacher wrap. There are so many resources. I'm sure I've blown you away with all of the resources that SBD and its partners provide. So it can be super overwhelming to decide, what am I going to use? Am I going to use a graphic organizer from the teacher resources? Is there a Zinc article that connects to this activity? So these point of use links are going to have suggestions for specific resources that you can use with the activity. And then you'll be able to open it right then and there and access it. But we know you're all professionals and you know your students the best. We definitely don't want you to think that this is a script to follow. We rely on your expertise of your community and your students. So you can look through all of those resources and decide, what do you want to use to help scaffold your learning for your students? Okay, so that's it. Sorry, I went a little bit over time, but if you could post in the poll, what are you excited about? And then in the chat, what are some ways that you can use these tools in your classroom?
I love watching the Zoom polls
Yeah,
go
it's
live. I don't know
super
if folks who are attending use Zoom, but you see it sort of move in real time. It looks like a lot of folks are really excited about the annotation and the answer tools. And that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of opportunity to customize and to make it your own. So thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Yes,
Um,
and students do like to use those tools as well.
Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, do this. Yep.
No.
Yeah, nope,
Just
go for it.
I know we did run out of time for Q&A, but just a reminder that you can use that help feature, and you can even use it to report any problems or issues that you're having. So please do make use of it. You can look back at this webinar or all the other modules in that professional learning tab. So thank you so much for coming today. I know some of you, you're getting your early start, you're having your summer break and you're making time to be here. So I really appreciate that. And thank you so much, Amanda and Kristen. They're such a supportive team and I'm so happy to be able to work with them for answering your questions and bringing their experience to the table today.
And we are super grateful to have Tiffany share her expertise because she does use Springboard Digital with kids every day. If you have questions, I know I put it in the chat, but please feel free to email sbtechsupport@collegeboard.org. My colleagues who respond to that really do respond very quickly and want to make sure that they address any concerns or issues you have. Thank you so much, everybody. We really appreciate it. And have a wonderful weekend.
Yes, thank you.